Take a break and listen to the stories and poems written by people just like you. Prose Poetry Pitstop. Recharge your day and do your life justice. Tune in for a new episode every Saturday. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Prose Poetry Pitstop. I'm your host, Justice. This is just a little respite from the daily grind of life. All of the poems and stories that you will hear are all original works of my guests. And on today's show, we have Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. So, Chris, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how long you've been writing or doing poetry?
Okay, so I'm Chris. I'm from Chicago, grew up in the south suburbs originally, and I've been writing since middle school, off and on, not consistently. I'll start by writing something for a stretch of time, and then I'll stop and won't go back to it. And then recently, when the pandemic happened, I really started reevaluating this gift I have and why I'm not using it. So I got back into it and been writing ever since.
Okay. So what do you have a genre that you generally kind of write in, or is it just, whatever sparks you and inspires you?
I don't know if you call it a genre, but I'm more successful doing short stories.
Okay.
And the stories I write, majority of them are situations I experienced personally, but I try to generalize it where a lot of people can relate to the topic. So it could go anywhere from relationship situations up to financial stuff to children. It just all depends on what I'm going through at the time, the emotion I feel, and I put it out and just try to transpose it where people can relate.
So you're writing stories that have a moral, or where somebody can learn something from those particular stories.
Yes, but they can learn from it, or they can have a conversation.
Yeah, that's good route to take. Because I write as well. I've done short stories, and I've written one full children's story. It's pretty short. It's only about 10 pages long. About 10 pages long. And there's a little moral to that story. So I think those are the kind of stories that a lot of people gravitate towards, because you can walk away with, oh, okay, I learned something from that. And then you can engage in the discussion. So you say that you took a little break, and then with the pandemic, you got back into your writing. What do you find to be your inspiration for writing?
It just depends. Sometimes I can hear a song and a thought come in my head. I have 2 chihuahuas, so we go on walks a lot. So I'm outside, I'm constantly brainstorming things. One of the stories I wrote, I actually was watching a TV show. I can't think of the name of it right now, but they had played a song at the end, and that song and the way that scene was set up helped me write my story. So I use a variety of different things to help me come up with my concept. And then if it's a song, I keep it on repeat until I finish writing. And once the thought is gone, that's the end of the story.
So you just have that
I was watching
download. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite story that you've written? And if so, what makes it your favorite?
So kind of torn between two, and they both going to be in my upcoming podcast I have. One of them is 2 roommates living together, and the main character doesn't let the other character talk. And the other character finally explodes because he's tired of constantly not being able to speak or get his words out. So my point of writing that is that you come in a lot of situations where either your voice is not heard or people don't let you speak. And then my other story was a husband and wife who are struggling because the wife is alcoholic and the husband wants to support her and help her overcome the addiction, but he's kind of frustrated, don't know what to do because he's tired of it happening over and over. Because once she drinks, she goes on the binge and she disappears, doesn't know what's happening. So he's torn, like, do he still love her because it's for better or worse, or do he give up on her? So he don't know what to do.
Yeah. Both of those are very, very intense stories. The first one where one person is over talking the other one, and you're not being heard, you know, one, because the person's not shutting up to let you speak, or two, they're not listening. I
Right.
think that's one that's universal, that, you know, most people have experienced at some point in life. Have you gone through that yourself, where, you know, you just were in a conversation and the other person just dominated the conversation, and you're like, are you gonna?
All the time. All the time. I deal with it at work. But I learned how to use my voice to let people know that, I let you speak. Is it okay? I can have the floor? Or if we're not going to be able to respect each other to communicate, we can't have this conversation till we can have a common ground. Because in the past, I would just shut down and not say anything. And you'll say, "What's wrong, Chris?" And I'll say nothing, but I wear my emotions on my face. So you'll see everything is wrong, even though I said nothing's wrong. So, but it's still a work in progress because I still struggle with it, but I'm doing better to communicate. I need to speak, I let you speak, or give them the floor. And then say, now can I have the floor? It's okay for me to speak, you know?
What led you to change that behavior, to become a little more bold in, you know, speaking up for yourself?
I didn't think it was fair to certain individuals that I was shut down. And then I learned that some people generally just was so excited about what they was talking about that they didn't purposely try to cut me off. So I learned to decipher between who's purposely cutting me off because they don't want to hear what I have to say, as opposed to those who just trying to get their thoughts out, but they don't mean any harm. So once I realized the two, then I could determine how to approach that person. If I feel like they are not hearing my voice and it's a meaningful conversation, my voice has to be heard. So I have to say something.
Yeah. Yeah. No one's gonna speak up for you if you don't speak up for yourself. And
Right.
I think that transformation is essential for all of us. You know, we get to a point to where we understand who we are, and we're comfortable in being ourselves. And so, you know, you sound like you're a pretty chill kind of guy, not aggressive, not, you know, I just got to be out there and hey, listen to me speak. I'm speaking, you know, so that there's a gentleness that I'm sensing from you. And so in that, you're still able to get your message across without
Right.
necessarily having to yell and scream and be, you know, that aggressive, crazy person that's out there. And I'm the same way for the most part. You know, I like having conversations and dialogues, and there were times where it was being the conversation was being dominated, and like you say, you just kind of like, okay, fine, I'm just not going to get my point across. I'm just not going to say anything. But then at some point, you have to say, no, I have something to say that's valuable to contribute to the conversation. So let me speak up and say that.
I
So
agree.
that's important. With your other story about the husband and the wife, that that's a difficult one. So what was the conclusion? Did they end up, did she end up getting sober and staying sober, or how did he handle that situation?
So not to give too much away of it, but
Yeah, true.
I, I
You got to
do a
read the
lot of
story. Yeah.
I do a lot of cliffhangers. So I left it where that's the type of questions you will ask. So what happened
Mm,
as a result of this? Because they do end up meeting back up, but then it just ends. So you wondering that question, then it further makes you think about you may not be in a situation where somebody's alcoholic, but you may be in a situation where you had a difficult conversation with somebody and now you need to address it, but how do you address it? Who is the one that will extend the olive branch first, so to speak, to try to address that. And then you don't want to give up on a person because if you really care about the person, you want the best for them. But at the same time, you don't want to constantly go through that chaos in your life either because you the one end up being stressed and frustrated. They're going around living their best life.
exactly. Yeah, that's a good question. Who's going to humble themselves to be the one to extend the olive branch? Even if you're not in the wrong, are you going to say, okay, I'm going to take the steps to try to make amends and heal the situation? That's a tough thing for anyone to do.
It is. Especially like you said, if you know you're not wrong and you justifiable in what you said in your actions and you stand in your ground, somebody has to break first. Who's going to do it? And if you got two strong willed people, that could take a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, you're holding on to that anger, that pain, that hurt, and everything like that, while the other person is going on about their life. And you're there's resentment towards that person
Right.
because it's like, one, why aren't you feeling this pain that I'm feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Two, why did you make me feel this pain? And three, why are you happy and I'm not?
Right.
And so we're putting all of that on the other person, not understanding that we have to let it go in order for us to heal. It's not their responsibility to heal us, because even if they apologize and try to make amends, you have to let it go. And sometimes they don't even know if they've hurt you, and you're
Mm-hmm.
holding on to this and you're upset at them and they don't even know what they did. And so
Right.
it's a healing process for ourselves, and that's the personal internal conversations that we have to have. Yeah.
We do. And you hit it nail on the head. If the other person doesn't know that you offended them, how can they fix the situation if they don't know what's wrong? You know.
And you have to be vocal and explain, this is what what hurt me and why, and so on and so forth. And give people, don't always assume that someone meant to hurt you.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like you were saying in the first part, where you were saying you had to distinguish between the people that were just cutting you off and not letting you speak because they were just, so caught up in themselves and didn't want to hear what you had to say, and the other ones who were, it was unintentional. And so
Right.
once you made that distinction, you're like, okay, I can't treat you both the same way because you both have different intentions. So I have to be a little more discerning in my approach and my response. And that was uh, a learning lesson, a lesson learned for you, you know.
Right. It was indeed.
Yeah. So, Chris, where can people find your work if they wanted to read one of your stories or hear your podcast? Where can they go?
Okay, so my podcast is on, well, it will be on majority of the streaming sites June 7th. So you could go on Spotify, Apple, Google, Anchor is where I use the platform at. And the title is Ooh, It's Getting Good. And I have a website too.
You said, "Ooh,
So
it's getting good."
yeah, like if you watch somebody go, ooh, it's
Ooh,
getting good,
yes.
So that's my website, ooh, it's getting good.com. You can find me there too. I'm on Facebook by that name tag and on Instagram. And right now I just have a trailer out so people get an idea of what the podcast will be about. And then once June 7th comes, every other week there'll be a chapter coming out that people can follow and listen to.
Okay. And so the "ooh" is that with two O's, three O's? How many O's?
Uh, Two O's and the H, and then it's getting good all together.
Okay. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll make sure that link will pop up on here as well. Okay. Well, all right. Well, I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to turn the floor over to you to let you share what you have to share.
Okay. So I share a piece that I wrote. I go to a lot of creative writing groups. This was one I did that I liked a lot. It was started with a sentence prompt. So the sentence prompt was, let me make sure I got the right one. This how it really happened. So I started with that and I created a story. This is how it really happened. I was at the bar, right, and she walked in. I mean, if she was a drink, she'll be top shelf quality. If she was a dessert, she'll be a 4-layer cake they have at a wedding. If she was a ticket, the fine would be too high to pay. That is how fine she was. All of the guys were tripping over themselves trying to get her attention. Not me, though. I played the cool and acted like I didn't see her. A few minutes go by and she sits right next to me. I never looked in her direction. I kept my eyes on the TV. Then she ordered a drink. Her drink of choice was Sex on the Beach and whatever he is having. I said, give me the special of the day, blackout. She looked at me and said, why that drink? Without missing the beat, I said, after having sex on the beach with me, you will black out. Wait a minute. You really said that? I asked Marcus as he was telling the story. Can I finish telling the story? Lamont said as he is being animated while telling the story. Continue. Thank you. Anyways, I said, after having sex on the beach with me, oh, I'm sorry, after sex on the beach with you, you will black out. So she stared at me for 2 minutes. You can hear all the people in the bar yelling at the game. and other conversations that were going on. Then she let out this laugh, right? I could not tell if the laugh was because I made her laugh or it was because she thought that that was the dumbest line used on her. Once her laugh subsided, she asked me my name, and we've been together ever since. Ain't that right, baby? Marcus said as he bent down to give LaShawn a kiss. Before he could kiss her lips, she put her hand in his face and pushed him away. Marcus jumped on her and began to give her tickle. You can see how happy they are in this moment. I envy that because it is something I desire but yet to achieve. I asked LaShawn if it really happened that way, and she smiled and said, not quite. But most of what he said is true. Marcus looked at LaShawn and said, oh, is that right? Then you tell us what happened then. I believe I will. So what Marcus said was right, Lamont. I was bad that day. Like you couldn't tell me anything, okay? And yes, all the guys were trying to holler at me. I only came to watch the game, but I knew I would get attention. When I sat at the bar, Marcus did speak, but I acted like I didn't hear him. He asked me if I wanted to drink. I said no. After that, he left me alone for a while. Then he said, if I tell you a joke and you laugh, then you got to give me your number. If you don't laugh, then I won't bother you again. And then that's where it stops.
So he had to blow it up and make it seem like he was Mr. Cool and everything like that, had the perfect line. I think that's how it be. Like, you have situations where, in the moment, your mind just goes blank. And then afterwards you think, man, I should have said XYZ, so on
Right.
and so forth. And if we talking to our boys and we talking about,
Yeah.
a woman, it's always got to be, man, I was the smoothest,
Right.
And she like, come on now. I'm sitting right here, so you can't
Yeah.
tell the lie while I'm sitting in the room.
Right.
It's like, come on. So this one, do you have the rest of it, or are you still working on this piece?
I'm most likely still gonna work on that piece. That was something we did as a writing exercise. So we did like 10 minutes and then I just read what I wrote and I liked it. So I'm gonna at some point develop that into a podcast chapter to add to my podcast. So
Yeah. Nice. So when you do your episodes, is it going to be like a serial where it's continuation, or is it going to be each episode is going to be a different story that you're reading?
each episode is gonna be a different story, it's different world, different characters. They may cross over from time to time, but for the most part, it's its own standalone story.
Are you just getting your material together, or do you have everything that you uh, need for like a couple 10 shows or whatever? You're just using that as a start date.
Yeah, so it's a start date because my birthday is the ninth. So that's a birthday gift,
Okay.
you know. And I did a lot of research and planning, and it was like at least have a trailer and 3 episodes out so people get an idea if it's something they want to continue to listen to. So I'm doing that, and my goal is to always stay 1 episode ahead.
Mm.
So if something was to happen, I already got one in the works working on it. So I'm just about finished with 1 episode. So that'll be done this week. I'm recording another one with some of my friends. I got some friends out of state who's recorded something. So I'm constantly writing and developing characters and plots and all that stuff. So every day I'm doing something podcast related.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's smart because, like you say, something might pop up and it's like, my goodness, I'm supposed to post on this day, and I'm just running busy, can't
Right.
record anything, but you already got one in the queue. So, with your writing, did you take any writing courses, or you say you've been writing for a long time since you were a child, but have you taken like any writing courses to help you develop stories better, or is it just all natural, all gifts?
I took I took one in college just to get the idea of how to do dialogue and write the scenes. And then over the past 2 or 3 months, I've been going on Eventbrite and finding different creative writing classes. And the one I was in maybe 2 months ago really helped me continue to develop characters and dialogue and scenery. So that really helped. But a lot of the times it was more affirmation of things I already knew how to do. So I haven't like got a degree, anything, get it, but a couple courses here and there. But most of my stuff, I just come up with on my own, and people just enjoy it. I just never did anything with it. So now I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity to use this platform to put my stuff out there and let the world hear it.
Yeah. That's the blessing, I guess you could say, in the quarantine. Now people have a little more time to think, and the things that the talents and the gifts that we have that have been sitting dormant because we've been focused so much on life and working and everything like that. Now it's like, I have this gift and let me do something with it. Let me utilize it and share with the world, share with people. And I think
Right.
that's a beautiful thing, because the creative mind is fantastic,
It is.
and people being able to hear how you think, I think, is a phenomenal thing. And that's why I started this show. Is, I was like, all right, I'm a poet, I'm a writer, and there are many people out there who don't have a platform or don't have books and stuff like that, but are great at what they do. And so if I can interact with them and get some of their energy and vibe, I think it's a wonderful thing, and share it with other people and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's cool what you're doing. And like you say, you can interact with so many people, hear their gifts and what they can do. And I'm just excited to see where this is going to go for me, and to meet more people who are doing this type of stuff and learn about them too and what they're passionate about.
Yeah. The creative community is a wonderful community.
It is. I'm definitely embracing it so far since I've been in it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. So do you have any more work for us? Did you say that you wanted to play part of one of your shows or something?
I can. If you give me 1 second, let me find something. Okay, I'll give you a snippet of my intro so you have an idea of what I'm doing.
Okay.
Ah, nice day out, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. Nice day to sit and read.
Well, I got something that you could listen to that would grab your attention.
Is that right? Well, let me listen then.
Is hoping for the best tonight after one of their loved ones has now been missing for more than 2 weeks.
After reports to police and the city, they're now pleading to the public for help. They talked exclusively to Fox 13's Tony Sloan. He's live tonight. Tony, this family literally begging for any information from anyone.
Yeah, Daryl, they say there's not a day that goes by where they don't hope to get a phone call that will send things back to normal for them and put their loved ones back in their arms. His sister says that this family is doing all they can to stay strong.
All they had to do was call. I told them to call, and this wouldn't be a problem. Nobody ever listens to me. Never. Here I am, driving you around. Had they called and gave me the money, we wouldn't be in this problem, young blood. So somebody go give me the money. Somebody gotta go. Don't matter about me, one bit or the other.
I can hear them coming. I'm afraid. What's gonna happen? Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Okay. Right.
Man, you trash at this game.
Dude, my controller. You gave me this one on purpose, man.
Nah, don't start. You a bum.
Man, whatever. Next game, I got you. Watch.
But man, I gotta ask you a question, and I need an honest answer.
Okay, what is it?
Is it wrong for me to not want to give my son a bath, knowing that he just peed in the bathwater?
Wait, what?
Yeah, man. I see him pee in the tub. Then he expects me to give him a bath. Just nasty, bro.
Wait, he did that? Gives you a sense of what my podcast would be about.
So these are like little audio dramas. This is this is good stuff. I just got into like audio dramas, probably like the end of last year. I was part of one called The Miseducation of John Mark.
Okay.
And then I did a second one. I can't remember the name of the second one, but that one just came out. So yeah, these are like stories with different actors and everything like that. So,
Right.
paint the picture and visualize everything. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to Snap Judgment 2 years ago, and theirs is like an audio drama, but they interview people, but I like the way they told their stories. And then ever since then, I've been hooked to podcasts, listen to audio dramas, and I'm like, if they could do it, I could do it, and here I am.
Yeah. That'll catch on really quickly.
Mhm.
Because it's basically one, because I think back in the like when radio first came out, they used to have kind of those shows on the radio.
Right.
And then you think about an audiobook. Audiobook is just one person reading the story.
Mhm.
With the audio drama, it's a little more animated.
Right.
And it makes it come to life a little better for you. So yeah, those are definitely the next wave. So
Yeah, I'm excited about it because it's something I enjoy doing, and then to hear people reaction to the progress I've been doing, I'm just excited to see what more is going to happen. So
yeah.
Yeah.
The more you work at it, the ideas just start to come.
Right.
And it's like that you get the ball rolling, and then the floodgates open and the creative juices just start flowing. It's usually the first step. Like, oh my goodness, this is taking a lot of work, a lot of time, just getting that concept together. And then once you get that concept together and actually put pen to paper, then it just comes out. So
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I've only been doing it for 2 months, so I'm just still learning and just trying to take it one day at a time.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot out there. I'm still learning myself, but every time and I'm doing everything myself.
Yeah.
And so that is it was frustrating in the beginning. It's like, oh my goodness, there's just so much work to do, but I'm learning.
Right.
And so that's the positive side of it. Say, okay, I'm learning all these different things. I'm adding to my resume of, oh, I can do this now. I can do that now.
I agree.
And it makes it a lot easier, a lot better to say that's my work. I did that myself. So we got what's today? Today's the 31st. Okay.
You got one more week next Monday.
We already about to hit June. I was thinking we had a whole nother one. All right, so one more week until it's coming out. Yeah. And so again, what is the name of the podcast, the day that it's coming out, and is there a particular time that you'll be posting or day that you'll be posting? Will it be weekly, monthly, daily?
Okay, so the podcast is Ooh, It's Getting Good. So that's 2 O's with an H, and then It's Getting Good. Every other Monday, 8 o'clock in the morning is what I'm trying to stick with. We're going to see if I could do that. If not, then I'll do like a once a month to give me more time. Mm-hmm. But if I keep with the concept of staying one ahead, I think I can manage every bi-weekly on Mondays at 8 o'clock in the morning.
And that would be Central Time.
It'll be Central Time because I'm in Chicago. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So bi-weekly it's on Mondays, Central Time, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yep. And now, like I said, I'm on Spotify, iTunes, Google, Radio Public, Breaker, which is I'm finding out all these different platforms I didn't even know exist.
Yeah.
I'm on, and I have my website that I post my podcast on, and I use the Anchor platform to distribute it, so you can find me on Anchor too.
Yeah, that's where I post on Anchor, and then Anchor distributes to like 5 or 6 other different platforms. So okay, great, thanks. You're doing the heavy lifting for me. Mm-hmm. Do you have any social media that anyone can follow you?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, so they can find my page, Ooh, It's Getting Good, or they can search my name, Christopher Guy. Either one is fine. You see content on both, and I'm on Instagram. I'm still trying to learn how to use Instagram, so because I haven't used social media in about 7 years, so all this is new to me. So I'm learning all over, but I'm more active on Facebook than anything.
Yeah, Instagram is tricky for me as well. Like I have an Instagram page, but posting videos or trailers and all that stuff, I have no idea how to do all that excess. So I guess that's another thing I got to add to the learn column to work on, because I think a lot of people say that Instagram is becoming the new thing, where a lot of people are transitioning from Facebook to Instagram and promoting more through there. Did you have anything that you wanted to close out with?
I'll just thank you for the opportunity to be on here. I truly enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to following you, hearing your interviews with people, and just, like I said, enjoying this process of the podcasting and seeing what happens. Is if I only got one listener, I'm happy with that one listener. But if I got many more, I'm just excited to have something out there to say I did.
Yeah, that's the spirit to have right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it can be discouraging, you know, when you know how much work you've put into the product, how much work you've put into the whole process, and then you're like, man, this is going to be awesome, and the audience is kind of slow to come in. You know, I've had to give myself that pep talk to be like, look, you're doing something that you enjoy.
Right.
You're doing something that's feeding you. Any other person that can get something out of it, that's great. But keep doing it, because there's that one person that you may reach. And so keep going forward. So yeah, that's the great spirit and attitude to handle, to have, especially in this environment. And never worry about what everybody else has. You know, don't live in anybody else's bank account in audience. You know, there's plenty to go around. You know?
I agree.
So that's a good thing. Well, I definitely thank you for coming on the show, Chris. That was spectacular, and I definitely look forward to hearing the podcast in the next week on Mondays.
Yes. Again, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for joining us and sharing your work with us and the audience. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Prose Poetry Pitstop. I hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for another episode. New episodes post on Saturdays. Remember, you only have one life to live. Make sure you do it justice.